Hey everybody, what's going on, orbiters? Welcome to the stream. This is stream number 2 on the Orbital Alliance YouTube channel. It's good to see all of you here. Getting some people walking in the digital doorway here right now. I see I've got 3 people at least. That is if my YouTube statistics are correct. So hopefully y'all can hear me, see me really well. Hopefully mic and camera are functioning. And yeah, it's going to be a great night to just chat about all things space and astronomy, which is why this YouTube channel exists, the Orbital Alliance. If this is your first time here, welcome to the channel. My name is Nick, and I created this channel earlier this year, back in January 2021, with the purpose and intent of helping others learn about space so that one day they can go to space. Because that's exactly what I want to do. I want to learn more about space so that I can one day go to space. I would love to get on a rocket one day, launch into orbit, go to the moon. Not even kidding. And maybe you're just like that too. Maybe you're out there and you're like, man, I've always dreamt about going to space. Think it'd be awesome. But I need to know a little bit more about it first. Well, hopefully this channel is the place you can do that. We've got a bunch of videos on the channel that can help you learn fun little facts about space and astronomy. We've got other astrophotography vlogs and adventures we've got on there. And we've just started live streaming weekly on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. United States Central Time. So yeah, every week we'll have a discussion. Usually it's going to be about an hour. Could be less, could be more, where we just sit here and chat. You can ask questions in the YouTube chat, and you can I can do my best to answer those things. I might not know everything because I am certainly no expert. I'm not an astronomer, astrophysicist, rocket scientist. I don't work for NASA or SpaceX or anything like that. I'm merely just a space fan looking to learn more. And what I do know, I hope to share with others so that they can learn too. So that's that. If you're finding this helpful and you do have seen some of the other videos that I have on the channel, would appreciate your subscription too. If you could click the little red subscribe button there down on the bottom, that'd be awesome. We'd love to have you stick around and watch more videos. That would be really appreciated. So yeah, let's see how things are going. I see we've got 4 people. If you want to say hello in the chat, feel free to type a little hi, and I can say hello back. I'll do my best too. Got a couple things kind of planned for tonight myself, just to topics I got listed to sort of just talk about. And if you guys, of course, like I said, if you have questions, put them in the chat, the live chat. I'll do my best to answer them as we go along, and we'll just have a session where we're just hanging out, talking about space, which is great. We do have some fun stuff to talk about tonight because last week was pretty eventful in terms of astronomy and night sky stuff. So, and I kind of mentioned in last week's stream as well too that, like, you know, this is kind of the best time to be alive in the space era. 2021 I think is arguably one of the best years in space since the late 70s when the Apollo era ended. And I know that's a bold claim, but there is so much happening, it's insane. Hey, there's a chat. Brad Broski, what up, brother? Good to see you, man. And Mr. Greg, yeah, oh man, dude, Greg is a longtime supporter of the channel who is always plugging us on Twitter and all the social media platforms. Greg, you are awesome. You're an OG. Thank you very much for doing everything you can to make sure everybody hears about what we're doing here on the Orbital Alliance. That's super awesome. Really grateful for you, man. Joe, hey man. I just recently did a astronomy astrophotography session with Joe. Gosh, was it maybe a couple months ago at this point? Maybe it's not as recent as I'm feeling it, but Joe is just getting into astrophotography and telescope use. So welcome, Joe. It's good to see you, man. Yeah, sweet deal. So tonight's gonna be great. So I figured we'd kick off with yeah, talking about what's been going on in the space world this week, because a lot's happened just in the last 7 days. So one of the most exciting things that I've been paying attention to is if you're familiar with any of the space telescopes out there, probably Hubble is the most important one that anyone's ever heard of. You don't even have to know much about space to have heard about the Hubble Space Telescope. It went up in 1990. It's still being used today. There's tons of other observatories in space, big giant telescopes like the size of a school bus, you know, but Hubble is kind of your most well-known one. We haven't really sent a really big successor to Hubble up at all. We haven't had any other like new entries into the library of space telescopes. except we've been building one for well over a decade, if not more, the James Webb Space Telescope. And I'm actually going to try and find a picture here while I'm talking about it, because I really can't describe how it looks. So pardon me while I find a picture here. And let me find one that's like on NASA's page. So it's like, whoa, they got a sweet video. Let's see if they got... I don't have like a good picture right here in the their splash page here. Observatory, about Webb, overview. Let's see if yeah. Oh, great. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen here for a second. Sweet. So this is the James Webb Space Telescope. Let me see if I can zoom it in here. Look at this thing. So this is going to go decently far away from Earth into a certain point. I think it's going to a Lagrange point, however you pronounce it. I think that's where it's going, which is a special point that's kind of in balance with Earth and the Moon and gravity and or following Earth. There's a lot of science to that, and I'm not going to get into that. But in particular, if you can see my cursor on the screen, these gold hexagons, those are mirrors that are lined with a super tiny layer of gold. All of these are kind of like slightly concave mirrors, so they're kind of like curved a little bit, and all of these are stitched together in sort of a sequence, and they're going to reflect any sort of light that hits them back up into this this kind of projection out here, this truss, and then that's going to shoot it back into the middle here where there's an imaging sensor, or the camera, so to speak. Pretty amazing. It's absolutely huge. I think this whole construct is like the size of a tennis court. So if you have any sort of perspective about, you know, how big a tennis court is, this thing is massive. And this giant shield under here, you can see it's kind of like layered. It's a reflective sheet. That's to block sunlight. So it'll basically put this side all towards the sun at any given time, so that sunlight isn't interfering with any of the deep space imaging that this thing's doing. And to be honest, I don't even know. I'm gonna go back to my picture here. I don't even know how deep this thing's gonna look into space. I don't know what they're gonna be looking at specifically. All I know is that this thing will be so much more capable than Hubble. It's likely that pretty quickly we'll be like rewriting our understanding of what is space, what is you know, the age of the universe, that sort of thing. It's all gonna be rewritten, I think, because of this instrument. So back to the news point, this thing is gonna be launching in December. It's been delayed by years, and it's been really tense to get this thing done. NASA has been working on this hardcore, and they just shipped it to South America where it's going to launch, and it's going to launch on the 22nd of December. And the space news from this week with this is that there was actually, they've mounted it on top of like the adapter that it gets put on the rocket and then stacked. There was a clamp that popped on the adapter, and it's apparently sent vibrations through the telescope, which is kind of all folded up right now. And the fear is that that clamp popping was going to rattle something apart or break a mirror or do something to damage the telescope. And so they had to like take extra days to evaluate whether or not it did any damage. And luckily, I just saw a tweet this evening that everything looks to be a-okay and just fine. And the telescope will be on schedule to launch on December 22nd. And once it does, it'll get up into space. It'll unfold. That like shield will fold out. The mirrors will deploy and form that shape, that hexagonal shape that's got. And hopefully it will be fully operational. The difference between this and Hubble is a lot closer to Earth. It's like 300 miles away. This will be hundreds of thousands of miles away, I think. So if this needs to be repaired, years and maybe a decade or more before we even have the chance to do that. Artemis would have to get on track. We'll have to create an Artemis mission to get out there, and it'll be a super expensive, super dangerous mission to repair it. I don't even know if they'll even consider it. So if this thing is broken, not only will it be near impossible to fix, but it'll be very expensive. And this telescope alone is $10 billion. I think it might be the most expensive thing ever sent to space, like individual object. The space station costs more, but that was in there's like dozens of missions together to create the space station. So this is one single mission, one single launch. So big news with the James Webb Space Telescope coming up here. That's going to be launching in less than a month. So super exciting. Let me check in here on the DOS chat. Gosh, we got a couple more things checking out. Hey, Ken, what's going on? Good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning in. And Josh, did they design it like a Star Destroyer on purpose? Pretty awesome. Yeah. I would have to assume there is maybe some nerd at NASA who said, "Hey, let's like sneak in this design to make it look like a Star Destroyer from Star Wars." That'd be genius. Yeah, great. Well, if you're just tuning in right now, again, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the Orbital Alliance YouTube channel. My name is Nick, and this is our second stream that we've ever done here on the channel. Glad to have you here with us. And just to kind of reiterate, the Orbital Alliance is a channel about space. And the goal of it is to help you learn about space so that one day you can go to space. And I would love to go to space one day, so I want to learn more. So if you're learning and I'm learning and vice versa, mission accomplished. That's a good thing. So today we're talking about space stuff. We're kind of talking about space news right now. And that's the plan for the time being. Anyway, so yeah, other important stuff that happened in the space realm recently. Oh yeah, here's something that happened today that was really cool. So a lot of commercial space agencies are starting to take commercial astronauts to space, really low Earth orbit or suborbital, which are basically just little hops. They don't go around the Earth. Orbital is the difference between they're going around the Earth. And remind me to talk about that in a little bit. I know, Joe, you mentioned have me explain what it means to go to orbit and what's an orbiter. I'll definitely answer that tonight. That was a great question, follow-up question from last week. So there's a lot of companies that are doing this now. It's not just NASA, it's not just governments. SpaceX is delivering people to space. Virgin Galactic, Richard Branson's company, is doing that. Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin is doing that. And there's a lot more that are coming down the pipe. They're going to be taking people to space. But there is, Blue Origin has done 2 small suborbital hops, little flights into space, and they come right back down. Basically, it's a one stage rocket with a capsule on top. They launch it up. The capsule jettisons. The rocket comes and lands. They kind of stay in space for a little bit, and then they fall back to Earth and land in the desert. It's a several minute space flight. I think they're in space for like 4 minutes or something, and they come right back down. It's super fast, but technically you're in space. You go weightless for a little bit. You're kind of above the Kármán line, which is sort of the somewhat official delineation of what is space and what is not. But they've done 2 launches, 2 crews. The previous one had William Shatner on it, which was awesome, successful, and he's now the oldest person to go into space. Before that, Jeff Bezos was on there on his own flight, which was awesome. And then this third flight, which is going to go on December 9th, I think, they just announced the crew for that. So there's going to be another round of people who are brand new astronauts, first-time space travelers. I know Michael Strahan, if you're familiar with him. I'm not a sports guy, but I believe he's a football player. He's on Good Morning America, ESPN, huge television personality. He's going to space, which is nuts. And then the one that means a little bit more to me, because I'm more in tune with this guy, there's an organization called Space for Humanity, and they are kind of in favor. It's like a private organization, a nonprofit that is trying to democratize space. So essentially kind of what we're doing at Orbital Alliance, only they're taking actual action to get people into space. They're trying to get tickets on these commercial flights for people. And they have a citizen astronaut program. I've actually applied for it, over 2 years ago, and I just re-upped my application to get to the next round. They're trying to like find new crews to send more and more people to space to get people on board these flights. But the founder of this organization, Space for Humanity, Dylan Taylor, is going on the next flight, which is amazing. I can't believe he actually gets to go on one. Dylan Taylor is sort of this, he's an entrepreneur and an investor in all things space industry things. And he's been really awesome, and he's such a humble guy. I think he really deserves this chance and sort of lead the way for his own nonprofit, Space for Humanity. I think that's going to be great. So as he gets to send people to space, he can say, "Hey, I've been there too. I've ridden this ride before. You can trust it. You can believe in the experience I've experienced." So really exciting news about Blue Origin taking their 3rd crew up there. Blue Origin actually had sort of some negative press in the last couple months, and I really think they're recovering and doing a good job about it. And I think they're going to be taking a slightly different path than say SpaceX, but they're doing great, and it's been exciting for that. Yeah, Greg, totally. Greg said, "Did you see the news about the rocket that has been sent to destroy an asteroid today?" Yes. NASA created a mission called DART, D-A-R-T, and I don't remember what the acronym stands for, but essentially the goal of this probe is to be sent into space to go collide with an asteroid to see if a collision of a probe will reroute an asteroid from its current path. So if in the event of an asteroid having a collision course with Earth, we could launch a probe, slam it into it, and push it out of the way. My hand imagery here is much more drastic than that would actually happen. You're talking about minimal shifts. If it bumps it, there's a tiny vibration. A little bit of physics pushes it the other way. Maybe it'll move just a little bit to the right or the left or up or down. And over millions of miles of traveling, that tiny little difference will be this huge trajectory shift over time. And it might be just enough to push a collision course asteroid out of the way. So this is a test, and it did launch this morning on a SpaceX Falcon 9, I believe from Vandenberg in California, which is really cool. And some of the stuff I've been seeing regarding this is, I'm trying to remember, it was Eric Berger, I think, on Twitter said, and he's a big space journalist. He said, this is kind of the first proactive thing that we've really done in a long time, in particular to the space program, but also for humanity. We are a very reactive species. And I loved his comment on this, is that he just said, this is the first proactive thing we've done in a long time, is to try and like foresee an imminent or potential danger and to find a way to forego that, or to push it or delay it, or to deter it altogether. And he's right. Most of the calamities that humanity faces are things that probably could have been prevented. It just happened at the wrong time in human history. But we actually have some pretty good technology now, and we actually get ahead of the game and actually do our best to sort of, prevent something really, really awful, like an extinction event, or a whole continent being wiped off the planet, the face of the planet. That would be a really awful thing. We don't want that. So this DART mission is a really cool thing, and hopefully it works. And I'm hoping that SpaceX has some way to capture imagery as the probe is going to slam into it and relay that back. I doubt it'll be live, but just because you're so far away and the antennas, and there's not enough good reliable like networking to get video data back that quickly. But I'm assuming we will get some form of imagery from NASA's probe to see how that actually happened, and then they'll be able to measure whether or not that asteroid's trajectory is comparably different from where it was. So I'm not sure how long that'll take. I don't know the timeline. You guys can maybe look it up, but it's going to be really exciting. I think it's really cool. Josh asks, the big question about space: do all aliens really speak English in real life? As in most sci-fis, it's funny how a lot of aliens just magically speak English. It's like the universal language. Nobody speaks Russian in space, or Chinese, or German. Everyone speaks English. I know a lot of the sci-fis, like Halo or Mass Effect, would say that there's like a chip inside them that can like augment or translate in real time, so that all you end up hearing is your translated language. They're speaking their native language. Who knows? Maybe that's the case. Maybe they're so far advanced that would be that would happen. But I don't know. I think it'd be great. It'd certainly be helpful if they would speak English. I always imagine that if like aliens landed in my front yard and they were like actually peaceful and they wanted to talk to me, I would be so excited to start the translation process and try to figure out ways to communicate with them like accurately and effectively. I think it'd be super entertaining. Greg, the asteroid redirect mission is kind of like Armageddon for sure. 1998 movie with Bruce Willis. It was Elijah Wood in that. I remember. No, it's Deep Impact. He's in Deep Impact. My bad. Crazy movie. But unfortunately, they flew space shuttles like go-karts on the asteroid in that movie, and it was just like a little bit, like just a little tiny bit unrealistic. But yeah, essentially the same thing. Either you like redirect it or you blow it up altogether. So yeah, and then the next thing that was kind of big in space news this past week was there was a lunar eclipse, or at least a partial lunar eclipse, and that was a really cool event. It was last Friday in the wee hours, at least for America. I know only part of the world can see it at any given time, but I'm not familiar with like what the event looked like at different portions of the Earth, other than where I was in the Midwest of the United States. But the partial lunar eclipse took place from about, it was like 12 in the morning on Friday. So the very first minutes of the day, all the way up till about like 5 a.m. ish. Was you could just see it leaving the shadow at that point. So it was basically I didn't sleep at all. I literally went to bed at 5:30 that morning, and it was a very, very long night. I didn't take any naps ahead of it, which is probably a bad idea, but I was just too excited. And I went out and did some photography of it and did my best to like capture the event. And I thought it would be fun to kind of show you guys that show those images to you today. And there were a lot of really great images that were taken, from lots of different astrophotographers around the world. But I'm going to show you a really quick video from the Orbital Alliance YouTube channel real quick, which is another 60 seconds of space video that I did earlier this year. And it explains what a lunar eclipse is. I thought that'd be helpful to kind of, give a little bit of recap. So I'm going to throw it to a minute-long video here, and I'll come right back and I'll show you some of the photos that I took. So enjoy this little 1-minute lesson about what a lunar eclipse is. 60 seconds of space, go! In this video, we're talking lunar eclipses. What are they? A lunar eclipse is when the moon goes into the Earth's shadow. However, most people know lunar eclipses as blood moons. But why? There's this very special effect that happens during a lunar eclipse. Check out this graphic. In it, you'll see the sun, the Earth, and the moon. The moon, of course, goes around the Earth, and under certain circumstances, the moon will land just perfectly behind the Earth and go into its shadow. Now, the moon just doesn't get dark, it turns red. And what's happening is that because the Earth has an atmosphere, light hitting the atmosphere around the fringe of the Earth is redirected in an effect called atmospheric lensing. This is very similar to the lens in a camera or the lens in your glasses. And because of the properties of our atmosphere, red light is the only light of the visible light spectrum that makes it through and is redirected. It's bent in a conic shape that diverges towards the moon, and it turns the moon's surface red. So if you're on the surface of the moon, everything would turn red around you for a couple of hours, and I think that would be the creepiest thing ever. The crazy part is that one day when we have a consistent presence of humans on the moon, somebody will eventually experience this from the other side of things, and I think it's gonna be absolutely insane. Leave a comment below if you want to be the very first person to experience a lunar eclipse from the surface of the moon. And don't forget to take me with you, because I really want to go to the moon, because it'd be awesome. Well, thanks for watching today's video. Hopefully you learned something about lunar eclipses, and if you did, be sure to share it with a friend so they can learn too. And if you want to join the Orbital Alliance, all you have to do is hit the subscribe button. And until the next video, Orbiters, I will see you on the other side. All right, video over. Hopefully you guys were able to, kind of grasp that and get an idea for what a lunar eclipse is. It is a really, really cool event that happens relatively often, so to speak. Not every day, not every month, and kind of not every year, but it does happen every couple of years and in pairs. There's sort of like a timing that's pretty great. You can usually see a couple of them within a couple of months of each other. Yeah, the whole moon turns red, and you can see the event over time as the moon sort of enters the Earth's shadow. It just starts getting darker, kind of like a shade, like it's a full moon, and it starts getting a little bit darker on one side, and as it gets further in the shadow, it starts turning red from that refracted light from the Earth's atmosphere, and then eventually kind of moves back out of it, and you kind of can get a sense for where the Earth's shadow is in the night sky, which is just absolutely freaky. So I'm gonna prepare some images here. I'm gonna throw it to my screen share. Oh, wait, really quick, I had some questions here. Kiffer, what's up, man? Which Funko are we featuring tonight? That is a fantastic question. I'm going to take a little detour here. And I have been berated by a certain fan here for not featuring a specific Funko. So I will please the audience here. Tonight's featured Funko will indeed be Darth Revan from Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I'm currently replaying this game on the Nintendo Switch. It is still, after, 18 years, one of my top 3 favorite video games of all time. Star Wars, you just can't go wrong. So I'm going to feature this week's Funko right here. Darth Revan, still in the box, in a case. It's not one of the many that I've opened. I have just been too afraid to open it. It's actually one of the more expensive ones that I have. The value seems to kind of go all over the place, but yeah, we love Darth Revan. So Josh, hopefully you're satisfied this week. But anyway, lunar eclipses. So I'm going to throw it to my screen share here. So here are some images I took of the lunar eclipse. These are edited, and these are on my website. And this first image is kind of the moon, like as I took it at about 4 in the morning. It was just leaving the shadow. So I don't know if I can magnify it. It doesn't with my website. It doesn't scale up when I magnify it. Sorry about that. Hopefully you guys can see here on your devices or your computers, whatever you're watching. So here you have the actual moon. It's leaving the shadow that it went through. So the whole night it went through shadow, and you can still see on the back end here, there's some red. And then this is sort of that dark phase. And there are technical terms for those. So the initial shadow, it's kind of like an outer circle. Think of like a bullseye. There's like 2 layers. There's like a black ring and then an inner circle, which is like the red part of the shadow. So the black ring is called the penumbra. And the inner circle, the red circle, is called the umbra. So they call them the penumbral phase and the umbral phase. So this is exiting the penumbral phase, the dark shadow on the outside. And then you got the rest of the full moon starting to show itself. The sun is in the complete opposite direction, 180 degrees the other way, behind the horizon, of course, because it's nighttime. But this would otherwise be a completely full moon had it not gone through the Earth's shadow in pitch black space. So this is one of my favorite shots. It was a test of an editing method that I've never done. It's called an Hdr Moon Photo. So I combined 2 images to make this happen. Everything in this image is real image data that I took with my camera on a 600 millimeter telephoto lens. I use a Sony A7 III, and this is the images I got. So I took 2. I took a bright image and a dark image, and I kind of combined them. So you kind of get to see super detailed brightness and super detailed darkness, and you can combine them, and it makes the moon look a little bit more 3D. I think it gives a really cool like dimensional look to it. And I think it turned out really nicely. You also get a really good sense of the glow, which is actually like lens flare from the bright side of the moon. If I had just given a single exposure, one of these sides would be pitch black, or another photo, the other side would be totally overexposed, completely blown out. And you wouldn't be able to see the detail on one side or the other. So you kind of combine the 2. It's the best of both worlds. And again, it makes it look a little bit more 3D. So I'm really happy with this HDR image. It turned out really, really well. And you can still see stars as I bump the exposure up and post the stars in the darker exposure. I think it was a darker one. Yeah, actually like pulled through. So you could see that in the details. So in the composite, as you start layering these things together, you get all these stars in the background, which are completely authentic, which is great. A lot of people will take a more artistic approach, and they'll kind of add a false star field in the background to make it more interesting. These are the real stars from the photo from that moment. So I was happy to pull those out a little bit in post-production, which was great. So that's the first one. And I think I did 4 solid edits to my favorite photos. So here's the next one. So yeah, this one is a single exposure. And this is a star field. I'm kind of in a slide reel here. So this image on the side is the next one. So this black star field with the moon in the middle, this is about as far as the moon went into the umbra, the red part of the shadow. Like I said earlier, it was a partial eclipse. So the sun didn't go straight through the center of the bullseye, if you will. Just the everything that's white here in the image is the only part that didn't go into it. It was so close. It was like 95% into the umbra. So you get this little overexposed section on the left side of the moon, that white part, right next to Tycho, that giant crater that you see in there. I'm not sure if you guys can tell. It was beautiful. So everything else turned red, that reddish hue. And also these are all real stars in the background that came through in the exposure. So this is a single exposure. I did touch it up to kind of like refine some of the details in posts, but otherwise this is 100% real, 100% photo straight out of my camera. And it was amazing. Absolutely beautiful. And then here's a more wide field shot that I took. I put a tree that's in my front yard in the foreground, and I got the moon down here. Similar phase, like right as the moon was going right through the umbra. The glow on the left side is overexposed because that's the actual like full moon showing through on that little edge that didn't make it. It's overexposing the camera because I'm exposed for the dark side. And to be clear too, as it goes to the umbra, the moon gets so much darker. It's kind of creepy because, a few hours ago it was a full moon. I mean, everything's glowing around you. It's the middle of the night. Everything is pitch black, but the moonlight lights everything up with this bluish, beautiful glow. And then it goes into shadow and everything gets darker again. But the moon is still out. It's a really weird, like, comparison of realities that are happening at the same time. So the moon, I got the moon down there. And then just above this, you see a little streak, a little squiggle. This was a surprise to me when I was going through my photos in post. I was looking through these and I have a bunch of exposures just like this, except for this one had a meteorite in it, like a meteor streak. And this particular one seems to be the glowing after streak. Like, so the meteor had happened. I pulled the trigger on the camera, let the exposure burn, I think for 5 seconds. So meteor happened. I hit capture, 5 seconds of photo. The meteor had left a smoke trail that I think ionized in the atmosphere, creating a sort of glow to it, like an aurora. And it left this sort of swiggly trail that started blowing away in the wind. And if you see a meteor in real life, some of them will leave a visible trail and a glow. You can see it and it fades away after a couple of seconds. I think this is exactly what that is. And it's a little bit green. So I wonder if that's either green ionosphere glow or potentially the burning away of copper off of the meteorite itself. Really cool either way. Who knows? And then just above it here in the upper corner, we've got the Pleiades star cluster, also known as the Seven Sisters. Fun fact about this, it's visible to your eye. You can walk outside at any given night that's clear and see the Pleiades with your eyes. It looks kind of like a micro dipper. It's kind of a loose nickname for it. The Big Dipper, the mini Dipper, the Big Dipper, the Little Dipper, and then you got the Micro Dipper, which is kind of this, again, joke name for it, but the Pleiades is the correct name for it. And I got it in the shot. The moon was just below it in the sky, and it was beautiful. You could expose for both in the same frame. I think this was 151 millimeters out of my camera, so just for record. Beautiful shot. I was really happy with it. And yeah, just super lucky to get that meteor in there. Let me check into the chat. Let me see how you guys are doing. Josh, I'm glad you're satisfied, man. But no pressure for the next week, right? Sith Moon. It is kind of like a Sith Moon, that first image. It looks super dark. I'm just go back to it. So if you guys are Star Wars nerds here, like I am, this does look sort of like a dark side sort of haven where, you know, dark side energy would sort of reside. It feels like there's a civilization there, doesn't it? On this side here, on the right side, feels like there should be some sort of city giving a reddish, creepy glow. Thanks, Kif. Yeah, the HDR was really cool. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Hey, Becca, good to see you here. Appreciate the support. Thanks for watching the stream. Which is a reminder, everybody, if you're brand new here to the YouTube channel, the Orbital Alliance, thanks for joining our stream tonight. My name is Nick, and today we're talking about all things space. We're just talking about Lunar Eclipse that just happened last Friday, a couple of days ago, and these are some of the pictures that I took, and we're just sort of reviewing them and talking about how I captured them and what it was like. So again, welcome to the stream if you're just joining us. So yeah, Kiffer, so the moon was not completely red, but it was like 95% red, really close. And something that I kind of did, it was pretty cold where I was. It was like 30 degrees, so it was below freezing. And this Fahrenheit, for those of you who may not be in America, and then the wind chill was, I think, 20-ish. So it was a little bit breezy, but also like, yeah, it was cold. I was shivering. My fingers got really numb. So I was going in and out of the house all night. So I didn't stay outside for all 4 hours of my photography. I actually like took a few shots for about 10 minutes, got really cold, went inside, thawed, and then waited about 30-40 minutes, went back out, kind of did that on repeat. So I kind of had to like go in and out. So as I was going in and out of the door, I kind of had to refine the moon. And every time I looked for it, it was like a different type of moon. Like one time it was really bright, next time was kind of dim, sort of in the shadow, looked sort of like a crescent moon, and you know, just it kind of looked black. And then the like middle of the night, I come right back out, and then oh my gosh, it's like totally red. Even though it's 95% red, you know, it's almost full. You know, there's this weird creepy red thing just lingering in the night sky, and it was completely clear where I was. So you kind of can't rationalize it in your head when you're seeing it, but it appeared to be totally red, even though it technically wasn't. You can still see a little bit of an edge. Yeah, still pretty cool. Thanks, Greg. I appreciate it, man. Appreciate your comment. Cool. And then this is sort of the last picture that I edited and posted online. This is an even wider field image of the eclipse. This is from my front yard, and you can see a lot here. This might just look like a bunch of stars to you guys on your screens here, but you got the moon here on the right, the Pleiades star cluster just above it, and then all the way over to the left, on the left side of the screen, it takes up a good chunk of the star field, is the whole Orion Constellation. And you can see the Orion's belt here in the middle. And the dagger, I think is what it is, and the constellation is like these 3 stars down here. I don't even know if you guys can see the cursor, but there is technically the Great Orion Nebula is in there. You can see a little bit of a glow. I'm not zoomed in enough to kind of tell, but the nebula is kind of visible in this shot, which is really cool. But I really wanted to capture the moment from a wider perspective. I thought this is 35 millimeters, so much more wide from the previous 151 millimeters, and then the even previous 600 millimeters. So the more millimeters, the further zoomed in you are. So 35 millimeters. You got some of the fall autumn trees here, and just glowing from the house lights around me, which is pretty cool. And yeah, it just gives a different perspective. And I wanted to capture the whole moment in different forms as I was out there. It was really important to me to not just capture a close-up of the moon, but what was the moment like when I was out there? So those are the 4 images I got. I had a ton of other photos, and not all of them were worth editing or, were the best quality. I just kind of did my best to get all kinds of exposures, all different kinds of framing, and kind of walk away with a couple of good ones to throw in your portfolio. So here we go. If you want to see a solar eclipse, I'm going to just click to the next one really quick. This was from June this year. There was a partial solar eclipse that I saw from Door County, Wisconsin. The moon, that's that shadow there, right at sunrise, 5 a.m. The moon was still just a little bit in front of the sun, and it was moving off to the left, out of the sun's way, just as the sun was rising. So we were not in the right place on the Earth to see the total eclipse, but it just went in front of there just enough, and it was a really cool shot. You can see the tree line here. If you want to see a solar eclipse, I think there's actually one in a couple of days, not a couple of days, like a week and a half or something. I don't think it'll be visible from the United States, but you could travel somewhere on the Earth and actually see it. If there's a lunar eclipse, there's always a solar eclipse 2 weeks later. Just have to be in the right place on the planet to see it. So there's always paired up, which is pretty cool. Thank you, Kiffer. I appreciate that, man. Sweet. So there's your lunar eclipse stuff. Thanks, Josh, for the solar eclipse was awesome. Yeah, it was a crazy moment. I had been up there for Milky Way photography in Door County, Wisconsin, which is like 4 hours north of where I live. And we stayed up all night, literally all night, to do Milky Way photography. Got back to our tent at like 4 a.m, knew in an hour we had the solar eclipse event, and I took a short nap, maybe like 45 minutes, got back up, went right onto the shoreline where I was and posted up for those pictures. The sun rose, took pictures there, and I basically slept 40 minutes that night. It was really rough driving home that later that day, but we made it, and it was well worth staying up. This is a cool picture to show for it. Oh, you can't unsee Pac-Man. It does kind of look like Pac-Man, doesn't it? I'm going to throw this back here so you can see that. Waka, 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 waka. I'm probably going to get sued for that. Okay, now this picture is forever marred with the image of Pac-Man, but I don't know. Maybe that's a cool thing. I think that's good. Cool. Well, I'm going to shift gears here, kind of shifting off of this news and like current events phase of the stream. How are you guys doing? What's up? Where are you guys at? Hey, we got 10 viewers. That's awesome. Thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate your viewership tonight. Gonna keep doing these rounds here where I just welcome everybody. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us. If this is your first time on the Orbital Alliance YouTube channel, my name is Nick, and we're here to talk about space and astronomy and all the fun things that go along with that. Space news, astrophotography, current events, just discussion. The whole point is to learn about space. So hopefully you guys are learning something, and yeah, that's the whole point of being here. So if you are learning something, I would appreciate you subscribing. Ugh, I can't say the words. Subscribing to the YouTube channel here, to the Orbital Alliance. We would really appreciate that effort, and it would really support the channel here so that we can make you even better content. And I should probably give a little bit of plug. Last week we spent a lot of time talking about it, but we already have a whole bunch of bigger videos coming on the pipe here for the channel, and I'm really, really, really excited about them. I am like so hard at work on the Yerkes Observatory video right now. I have a little update on that. It's going great. I'm really, really happy with it. I'm doing a lot of surgery on the editing. I thought I had a really tight edit, but I'm finding little moments. I'm like, yeah, this isn't quite necessary. I'm going to trim this line. Currently as it stands, it's like 21 minutes long, which is great. But I'm gonna tighten it up a bit, and I'm actually in the process of trying to get it shipped over to a friend of mine who does post-production audio for a living, and he does a great job with cleaning up movies and videos. He does professional work. He's done stuff for ESPN and Disney, all kinds of things, and he's gonna help clean up the audio on it because there's some messy stuff that, you know, from the microphone and the music balance. He's gonna do great, so I'm gonna ship that to him. But unfortunately, he's not available to do anything until December 8th at least, at the earliest. So I'm gonna do all that I can now, and then once we get to early December, I'm gonna ship him the video. And once he's done with audio, I'll slap that on my copy, and then I'll be able to upload it. So the new update on the Yerkes Observatory video that's going to be coming out soon is hopefully after December 9th, 10th, the following week. I think that's Friday, the 10th, maybe the following week, 13th. We'll start seeing the Yerkes Observatory video up on the channel. So that's coming in. My NASA vlog from visiting Kennedy Space Center from November, I'm still working on that. That's kind of taken backseat to the Yerkes video, but that's coming soon. Probably that might be mid-December. If I'm lucky. I'm not gonna do a ton of work on that other than just editing it. That doesn't need a lot of cleanup. But yeah, that one's coming soon. And the 20 questions video, I'll hopefully get that in December as well. But those are the big ones that are coming down the pipe. Lots of good discussion and adventuring in astronomical locations, rocket locations. Literally NASA Kennedy Space Center. I was down there in early November, and it was a really, really fun trip. So you guys got to see all about that when those videos come out. Sorry, checking with the chat here. Josh S. Different Josh. Hey man, great to see you, dude. Thanks for tuning in. You are always a long-time supporter of the channel. I really, really appreciate you, your viewership, man. Question for you. What's your take on space travel and more recent media like The Expanse? Dude, oh yeah, I love The Expanse. Oh, The Expanse is awesome. Let's talk about that. That's a show. It's on Amazon Prime, and I got really into it maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I caught all up and everything. I watched season 5 as it premiered this year. December 10th, I think season 6, the final season is airing. They just released a trailer for it. And I think that they've done a beautiful job of depicting some of the realities of space, and in particular, the politics of space. It's like a couple hundred years in the future. It's based on a series of books. The Expanse is, but they do a really great job of showing an established civilization on Mars, established civilizations in the asteroid belt and beyond in the solar system. It's kind of a realistic sci-fi, but they've done an amazing job of showing how the Earth and the Mars would interact politically, you know, in terms of warfare and resource sharing, and it's a really, really cool envisionment of, you know, what that might be. And I bought 100% into the show. Maybe it won't be 100% accurate, and hopefully not, because there's some terrible things that happen to humans, you know, no matter where they're from in that show. But yeah, highly recommend The Expanse for any of you out there. But it is a super adult show. Let me be clear about that. It's very adult. It's like mature. I think there is like a little bit of you know, exposure. There's a lot of language, some gore, and some frightening images. So just heads up. And that's where maybe some of the fantasy comes into play. There's like some, like, you know, alien life form sort of concepts that pop in here and there. So it's like a sci-fi fantasy, but mostly sci-fi. But yeah, I think they're doing a great job. I just saw news that they might be adapting Mass Effect to a TV series, and I think they're probably going to use The Expanse as a like an influence for that. And I would certainly hope they would, because as a fan of Mass Effect, I think they do a phenomenal job with The Expanse, and I think they sort of take a lot of influence from Mass Effect. So really, really cool. Yeah, other Josh, if there was a single nebula you could see in person, what would it be? I have a special attachment to M57, which is the Messier Catalog 57, which is the Ring Nebula. I will find a picture for you. M57 is beautiful. It's like a rainbow eye, kind of what it looks like. And I'm going to see what we got here. Maybe there's, I can show you like the wiki or something. Oh no, NASA's got something on their page. So this will show the government page. Here, I'm going to share my screen. This is the Ring Nebula, Messier catalog item number 57. We can talk about astronomical catalogs at some point. Maybe not tonight, but the Ring Nebula. I've seen this with my naked eye, not my naked eye, my through a telescope before with my own eye. It does not look like this with your own eye. It looks like a gray fuzz because our eyes are too small and our telescopes are too small to distinguish enough light to determine color. And we're so far away. It just doesn't work like that. If this image was probably taken, let's see, Hubble. Yeah. So Hubble, giant mirror in space, no atmosphere in between it and its mirror. And they probably spent hours or more exposing for this. So, and they probably have some sort of filter or editing over this to interpret the colors and how it would look. But I think this is amazing. This is a planetary nebula. And what that means is the actual star in the middle, this little white dot, was a star, and it exploded. It went supernova, and it's shedding all its gas layers off into space. So it's a dead star, and all this cloud around it is the gas that the star has emitted. And it's glowing because it's either ionized or it's emitting light from the star itself, and it's kind of letting certain light spectrum through in different spaces. So that's what this particular image is. I love the Ring Nebula. Let me bounce back here. Yeah, good question though. Let's see. Oh yeah, Greg's recommending some space music. Yeah, that's great. I'll come back to that for sure at the end. If you guys missed last week, what I'm going to do every week on the stream is I'm going to recommend, or at least do my best to recommend, a book, a movie, and some music to listen to that are space themed, or at least space related to some degree. So that you guys, as you leave, it's sort of like your homework to go out and listen to that. Surround yourself with some more space mood, space feelings, something that can help you learn about space. But I think more than just reading books, there's feeling and experiencing space. And that's comes through different forms of media. So yeah, we'll come back to that. I do have some stuff lined up for this week too. Yeah, cool. All right. Yeah, good questions, everybody. Thanks for contributing in the chat. This is awesome. Really love the participation because that gives me more things to talk about and keeps the stream alive, which is really helpful because maybe my stream would be boring otherwise. What are we talking about? It would never be boring. We don't do that here. Yeah, great. So let's shift gears. Let's talk basic night sky stuff. I thought it'd be really fun to show you something that I've used for a very long time. So if you know nothing about the night sky, you walk outside, you look at a clear sky, and you're like, I don't know what any of this is. I might know the moon and the sun. That'd be about it. And that's totally fine. That's a great place to start. And it's where I was when I was 17 before I took my first astronomy class in high school, just for fun. I literally said, I don't know anything about anything. I wish I knew something, but I don't. And then as I got to know more, I realized there were some resources out there that could help you actually learn and prepare for viewing things in the night sky. So I'm going to show you a program that is 100% free. And I've used it since probably 2008, 2009. And it's called Stellarium. So Stellarium, Stellarium. And again, it's 100% free. I've been using it for like 12, maybe 13 years. Never paid once because I don't think there's a paid version at all. It's amazing. It's basically a sky simulator that you can put on your desktop. I think there's a mobile app as well, and you can use it to look things up. Yeah, got it on my mobile app as well. So there's a lot of other night sky apps that you can use, but I'm thinking in terms of desktops, laptops, PCs. So I'm going to throw it to my screen here. So here's Stellarium. I'm clicking around and controlling the night sky essentially. And I'm zooming in and out. And it's a night sky simulator. And it has been one of the most influential things for helping me learn where things are in the sky. And it also helps me prepare for when I'm going out to look for certain events like eclipses. Like it actually depicts the eclipse in real time. Through imagery and animations, like what it would look like in the given second. And I'll show you kind of how to navigate this software in like a little easy 101 tutorial here, because I think it's super great. So yeah, this is literally, let me like actually reset it here. Yeah, this is the night sky right now. And down here in this bar that kind of hovers up, there's a clock. It shows the date and the time of day to the current second. And it shows you your field of view in degrees, so you can zoom in and out. I'm using my scroll wheel to zoom in and out. And you can click and hold and drag and explore the night sky right now. You set your location in here, so you put in your GPS coordinates, or you can actually just search for your city, and it will show, you know, where, you know, what it looks like to you in your location. You can pick a foreground, like I kind of have this like country farm, like night sky. Like it doesn't have much other than trees, which I find is pretty realistic because I got trees in my front yard, blocking my view. So here's what's happening. So if you look over here, you can scan over to the northeast, to the east. The moon is rising. So if I went outside right now, I'm going to zoom in. There's the moon. This is exactly the phase that the moon is in currently. It's not full anymore from a few days ago. It's starting to move, and it's a waning gibbous right now, which is the current phase. And it's actually in its shadow. Like it's like the sun is off to the left. It's not behind it. So very cool. So you can see this in real time. And if you look really closely, you can zoom even further in, see some good details. This is like a real image. It's kind of pixelated, so it's kind of zoomed in enough to where you start noticing the raster image. But if you let it sit here, I'm not touching it anymore. The moon is starting to move out of the window here, right? Because it's actually calculating for the Earth rotating. So if you were in a telescope looking at the moon right now, the moon would leave your shot if you were zoomed in this much, because the Earth rotates that quickly. Really cool. Oh, there was a satellite just went by. Did you see that? I don't know if you guys saw that. I'm not sure if the frame rate captured that, but I saw something fly by. This actually does have a satellite tracker in it, so you can look for real satellites, GPS satellites, the space station, all kinds of stuff. It's really cool. So anyway, I'm going to zoom out here. I'm going to just show you some quick controls. So let's see. Go back down here. So you got some time controls down here on the right. And again, I don't know if you guys can see the cursor at all, but there is a play button and a fast forward and a rewind. So if I hit fast forward once, it starts going a little faster. Click it again, click it again, click it again. It starts zooming up. So the sun is going to rise here. Boom. There's tomorrow morning. I'm going to show the day. And you can see the night sky rotating. It's really cool. I love this this simulation. And this is 2 days from now. I'm going to click it again. Let's zoom in and speed up a little faster. Boom, boom. There's another day, another day, another day. And you can keep doing it until it flashes. Oh no, strobing. Sorry. I probably should have prepared you guys for that. My bad. I'm going to pause it. You can literally go ahead tens of thousands of years in the future, and it will predict where everything is shifted. Stars will be in different places. It's insane. So beautiful. So you can control, you know, your playback from that spot. There's a whole other bunch of options. You can put the constellations up. You can add the labels to the constellations. I'm going to go back to today. There's a little reset. It looks like a little hourglass down here. You click that and snaps immediately to the current moment in time, like actually present. You can see all the constellations and look where they are, and all the stars are labeled. If you want to look at the constellation Auriga here, you can see that Capella, the star is there. And you can click a star or an object, a satellite or the moon or a planet, and it'll give you all this information. So this app is super user-friendly for those of you who know nothing about astronomy, and it's also super detailed for those of you who know everything about astronomy. It gives you all the current statistics, the details, right ascension, declination, apparent time. You know, it's crazy. Oh, it's magnitude as well. Yeah, that's really helpful. That's the brightness of the object. And yeah, it's really great. Another thing you can do is you can zoom in. They have images of nebula, so you can find nebula in the sky if you want to see what those are. Here's a different one. But if I looked up, and you can search for objects too, there's like a little search window. So if I went for M57, like we were talking about the ring nebula, I can click it, I think. Search. Oh, I click search and then boom, it snaps right to it. I'm gonna zoom in. There is the ring nebula. Kaboom. All the information here listed in blue up in the upper left about the ring nebula. Pretty sweet. So yeah, I thought it'd be super cool to show you guys this. If I go back a couple days, let's go back to the eclipse. Let's the 23rd, 22nd, 20th, 19th. Okay, so I need to go back a few more hours. I'm gonna turn off the constellations. Oops. Oh, nuts, it just ruined it. Go back. Sorry for the flashing again. Okay, 10 a.m. on the 19th. I need to go back to like 3 a.m. and here's one. So let's go to the moon. Let's simulate it here. So if you go down here to the left, there's like a couple options here to like focus on an object. I think they call it center on selected object. There's some 4 arrows kind of pointing in. If you click that, it'll center up the screen, and then you can just zoom in. So this is 1:10 a.m. on Friday, which the eclipse was just starting to happen. And if you look at the upper part, it's starting to show a little bit of a shadow, I believe. And if I zoom in over time, here comes the shadow. And this is 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m., 3 a.m. Here's the partial lunar eclipse. The moon is turning red. It actually depicts it. I'm going to zoom in for you again. And then I'm going to fast forward in time. This is 3:15 a.m. I'm going to fast forward, and you'll start to see the moon leave the shadow, and boom. And now that is 4:50 a.m. The eclipse is over. So you can see things happen in real time, and you can go back and review it if you wanted, if you missed it. Here's the Pleiades. I was talking to you guys about the Pleiades cluster. It's actually a nebula. It's a star cluster and a nebula in one. It's basically a stellar nursery. It's like a baby nursery for stars. Brand new, really hot blue colored stars that are just all packed together. Really, really cool. So anyway, yeah, Josh, have you tried the Starwalk app? I have never tried the Starwalk app. I feel like you've mentioned it to me before, but I should give it a try and see, because I know there's a lot of those apps that lets you like orient your phone and look up, and it'll actually like show you on your display like what you're looking at, and you click it and explore it. Tell me if that's what you're talking about, because I think there's a lot out there that can do that. I'm not sure if you can do that with Stellarium, but it's more of kind of like an after the fact thing. But yeah, there is a lot of really good stuff out there. You can look at planets too. So let's bring it back to today. And Jupiter is technically still up in the night sky. If I walked outside right now, I could see Jupiter. Actually, pretty sure it's cloudy here where I'm at. Let's focus in on the middle, and I'm going to zoom in. There's Jupiter currently as it stands. If it were to rotate, Jupiter's day is only 10 hours. It's like 9.8 hours for a day. So the whole planet, the big monstrosity of a planet, rotates every 9.8 hours. And that means if you just waited long enough, you'd probably see the red spot come around the other side. I don't think that's visible currently, but it would display here on the planet. You can also see some of its moons: Io, Europa, Callisto, Ganymede. They're here. Those are the 4 Galilean moons, because they're actually visible through most telescopes or even binoculars. You can see 4 little dots, and those are of course going around Jupiter, so they change positions a lot. If I hone in on Jupiter here and I skip through the days, I'm also going to turn off the atmosphere. I'm going to focus on the day so that you can see. I'm going to go fast in time. Oh, I got to turn off the Earth too. Let's look at this. You can see the moons actually moving and changing position. It's kind of swaying back and forth based on the Earth's position right now in the days. So that's kind of like what's messing with it. But you do get the picture here. You can see them rotate. I'm going to speed it up. All those positions change all the time. Jupiter changes. Oh, there's the red spot. I don't know what time to actually see it there. This still picture. Very, very cool to simulate. Yeah. So anyway, I don't need to make you guys seasick here. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch back to my camera. Stellarium is a very cool object, and then you can just play around with it too. You want to just learn about space, want to learn what's out there, just start zooming in, click on some things, learn some information, and then you can do a Wikipedia search or Google search to look up more information about those objects and learn more. It's really great. Cool. Well, what time are we at here? Wow, it's already been an hour. That's nuts. Probably going to start wrapping up here, but what other questions do you guys have? Any other things you want to throw in the chat? We can keep talking for a little bit if you want. Otherwise, I'll start talking about the space homework. Yeah, what do you guys got? Anything? Fun thing I'll show you here while I'm waiting for if you guys have any other questions. There's a company called Launch Pins, like Launch, not lunch pins, but Launch Pins, and they make rocket and mission badge and spacecraft pins. I did buy one once, and I keep it on my desk. It's the space station. Let me get some light here. There, International Space Station pin. It's really great. I love it. Obviously, most people would put this on a bag or a jacket, but I keep it on my desk because I think it's really beautiful. It was like I think it was maybe like $7 or $8. Not too bad for a premium custom made pin. But they do really great stuff. So I would encourage you looking up launch pins, which also reminds me too, Christmas is coming up and I have nothing to do with this other than it's cool and I own one. You probably saw this in my ISS or my lunar transit video earlier. This is the Earth, little plush Earth. Celestial Buddies is the company. They make these plushes of all the planets, the sun and the moon, a comet, all the planets. And they're really, really, really cute. And not this one, but there was another Earth that went up on a SpaceX rocket as sort of the like gravity indicator, meaning like, hey, we got to space, and then it started floating around. They sent one of these Earth Celestial Buddies. They got super popular, and it's just a small, I think, family-owned company or like some like educational item company, and they like they got sold out, and they're backlogged for months on these Earths because everybody wanted one after that SpaceX mission. I am one of those people who helped with the backlog because I just was like, it's super cute. I really want one of these for my desk. My 2-year-old daughter runs away with it now because she thinks it's awesome too. So I'm also glad that she likes to feel like she can protect Earth by holding it or, you know, keep it safe, which is great. I'm like, hey, start them young. Start protecting the Earth, not like our previous generations who said, hey, let's burn everything away and make some dirty air. So yeah, Celestial Buddies. I'd recommend if you're looking for Christmas gifts. They have all different kinds of fun things. I think NASA has partnered with them now. When I was at Kennedy Space Center a couple weeks ago, they actually had like a bunch of these just in their store, like physically in their gift shop, and I saw them all stacked up in a bin. And I really wanted to buy some more, but I had no space in my travel bag to bring any of those home. But yeah, if you're looking for a fun Christmas gift for some kids, or they're adult kids like me, that are in your life, you know, you can buy these and get a really fun spacey Christmas gift. Space nerds alike out there would really appreciate that. Great. Well, let's close it up here, and I'll give you guys some space homework. So let's talk about movies. Currently, one of my favorite movies of all time is Oblivion with Tom Cruise. So this is the limited edition cover here. I'll probably show you the more accurate one. Actually, no, I'm not going to, because there's actually technically a little bit of a spoiler on it. But Oblivion, it's a sci-fi from 2013. I went to go see this in theaters randomly with my wife, and I was like, hey, why don't you go see this? Because I don't know if it's good at all. And we loved it. It's one of my favorite movies ever. It's kind of like a unique story. It's a very spacey theme, has a spacey theme to it, and of course it's got a stellar cast. Tom Cruise, I mean, come on. But the soundtrack is what really gets me. And last week I mentioned M83, the musical artist. They actually do like a partnering orchestral soundtrack, so it's kind of like synthesizer / orchestral soundtrack. It's comboed. Amazing soundtrack. So if not, watch it for the music. If not, the awesome story that goes with it. So yeah, really big fan of Oblivion. Definitely watch that. Let's look at a book. So I would encourage you guys to read The Orbital Perspective. I read this book probably, 5 years ago. It's written by retired astronaut Ron Garan. And Ron kind of coined this concept, the orbital perspective, formerly known as the overview effect, which Apollo astronauts kind of coined as, you know, the feeling that you get when you go to space and you look back at the Earth. Suddenly your life changes. Like, things change for you. You start to realize there are no borders. The Earth is beautiful and it's super fragile. And what we do in our ordinary life is actually destroying the Earth. And you gain this perspective. They call it overview effect. It's also, Ron kind of coins it as the orbital perspective, is that we're all one in this together on spaceship Earth, so to speak. And it's our duty to take care of planet Earth and each other as fellow humans, no matter where you're from, no matter what culture you're a part of. You have this orbital perspective. You've been to orbit, you've been to space, and you're like, I want to protect it. I want to help my fellow humans prosper. And he talks all about that concept in his book. And Ron has been a great example of living the orbital perspective. He not only was trained as an astronaut, I think he was actually a pilot in the Army, or was one of the, maybe Air Force. I can't remember which branch of the military, U.S. military he was in, but He was a military guy, I believe, and he also was a NASA astronaut, flew in the space shuttle to the space station, had a life-changing moment there, and came back, and he actually said, hey, I want to help people. So he went out to sort of, help with, like, I think, clean water in third world countries, to help, like, give people, like, access to clean water. And it's like his mission now. It's like, I've used this. I can now empathize with other people around the earth and see, like, from different perspective, like, that they are suffering when I'm not. And I'm going to use this perspective to help encourage myself to go out and help other people. He's an amazing guy, just a really down to earth person, mega pun intended. And, yeah, he just depicts in this book. So again, highly recommend it. He does speaking events and all kinds of like that. I've always wanted to, like, bring him out somewhere, but I'm assuming that'd be super expensive. I would love to meet Ron. So Ron, if you ever watch this, by the off chance, would love to talk to you, man. I really appreciate your work, and your book was great. I think you just came out with a new book, and I am looking forward to reading it. I don't own it yet, but I would like to. It's kind of, I think it's supposed to be sort of like a successor to this. So hopefully it's as amazing as this one. And yeah, you guys will like it too. Yeah, a lot of chat there about Oblivion. Yeah, definitely. 2013 for sure. When that movie came out. Great. And then music, space music that with a spacey theme. I'm gonna prepare something here for you. Sleeping at Last. It's a musical artist. It's a group, or not a group. I think it's technically one person. Ryan O'Neal, that's his name. Singer-songwriter, producer, and composer, Ryan O'Neal. His moniker is Sleeping at Last. I am not familiar with this artist's entire discography just yet, but what I do know of it is that it's beautiful and 100% inspiring. So if you even just want to go out and look at the night sky, bring your phone, put on Sleeping at Last, and I think you'll melt, like I usually do. My number one song is Saturn. You'll see here in the top songs. They have a whole host of other things, but a lot of their albums are like astronomy based. There's literally one called Astronomy Volume 1 from 2020. All these are like songs written based on moments of astronomical significance, like space exploration, NASA missions, lunar eclipses, solar eclipses, Mars missions, Opportunity, Spitzer Space Telescope. Like they got dates attached to them. It's a really cool thing. And then again, there's which album is it? I think it's 2014. Atlas 1. Yeah, down here, there's a song list for the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Moon, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. There's like songs for each of the planets. And the guy is a very emotional singer, and I love the tone he has on all this stuff. Just takes you to a deep place. So if you're very introspective and having a night where you're like, I just want to like be with myself, Sleeping at Last. It's a very spacey thing. So I would highly recommend it. Greg, I know you mentioned some music. Let me pull up what your chat said. So I have some music space listening homework for you. Fictional. Listen to Cygnus X1 and Cygnus X1 Book 2 by Rush. Oh, Rush. Okay, I'm not familiar with that. It's like Rush, right? It's a trip, I would imagine. So confirm for me here. That's like the Rush, like Tom Sawyer Rush. I will have to check that out. They have other songs like, yeah, I think they do, of course, have like the 2112 Overture. That's a very spacey rock ballad. Would recommend that too. Well, anyway, for those of you who've stuck around, who've endured for the whole stream, thank you so much for your time tonight. Thanks for joining me for episode number 2. Let me just make sure I don't have anything else in my notes here. Yeah, I think that's all that I had. This has been super fun. I legitimately, I really love doing this. It's been a blast, and I'm trying to really stick to this week schedule. So every Wednesday night, 8 p.m., I'll be right here streaming to you guys wherever you are on planet Earth, and we'll be talking about space. My goal is in the future to have different themes or topics to talk about, and maybe even something special events in the future when I kind of have sort of gotten my wings under me and I start to feel a little more comfortable around it, you know, and testing out different technologies, I would love to bring in special guests and actually do like interviews and things like that. I may have mentioned that last week, but that is the goal. And I'm just really having a lot of fun with it. So again, every Wednesday, 8 p.m. If I don't have a stream coming up that day, I'll just post it on Twitter and on Instagram. I'll just post, hey, we're not going live tonight, and you guys can find it there, and you'll know. But be on the lookout for some of those bigger videos. Yerke's observatory video coming out in a few weeks, and it'll be super great. Oh yeah, Rush is Canadian, huh? Hence why they have the song YYZ, right? The is it Toronto Airport? Their code. Love that song. The story has to do with the explorer getting lost in the black hole. Okay, you have my attention. I am definitely gonna listen to that as soon as I get off of this. But yeah, cool. Okay, great, you guys. Well, have a fantastic week. Thank you again for joining. If I'm gonna throw up this little plug here. If you're brand new, be sure to subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell. Don't miss a single video on the YouTube channel. And hopefully you guys have learned something about space, about astronomy, about rockets, about space flight. That's the goal here. If you liked this stream, be sure to give it a like, a thumbs up on the video, and we will be sure to see you next time on the stream as well. And if you guys have suggestions for things, leave them in the comments too. I'll do my best to answer questions or talk about topics that you guys think are interesting or things you want to learn about. I'll do some research and learn myself and bring that information to you. So anyway, you guys have a great week. I will see you next Wednesday at 8 p.m. And as always, orbiters. Oh, we didn't talk about orbiters. Okay, I'm totally stopping that. I'm totally stopping right here. Joe had asked me, a friend of mine asked me, like, I mentioned orbiters last week. What does it mean to be an orbiter? Basically, it means you're going around something that has a gravitational pull, like the Earth. You're in space. You're traveling so fast that you stay in a consistent rotation around that object. In a lot of cases, the Earth or a planet or a star. The Earth is in orbit around the sun. Satellites and the space station are in orbit around the Earth. If you're not going fast enough, you fall. The gravity pulls you into the Earth and you would crash. So you need to travel at a consistent speed. So you're constantly falling around the curvature of that object. That's kind of the short answer for it. So I said that we are all orbiters. We are people orbiting the sun right now. We are on Earth that's orbiting the sun. We're going so fast that we don't fall into the sun. And one day when we're in space, we'll be going so fast that we won't fall back to the Earth. We'll be in orbit. And I hope that's the goal for all of us here who are a part of the Orbital Alliance, hence Orbital. But anyway, that's it. I'm going to sign off. But you guys have been great. Thanks for watching the stream. We'll see you next week, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central Time. Orbiters, I will see you all on the other side.